Hello, welcome to this unusual or abbreviated uh, collection of lesson material for the class that was supposed to meet February the 6th. Again, I do apologize for not being able to attend. Certainly something outside of my control. And hopefully we can achieve what we need to achieve via this format over and above what we would normally do. Of course, we will meet as regularly scheduled for the next time, which will be 2 weeks from February the 6th. And I just wanted to go over a few brief items that we would normally go over in class. Of course, last time we met, we continued to talk about the stages of change and the different important subsets within those stages, and that don't consider the stages of change as a step-by-step model. Excuse me. The client could go from one stage to another, and not necessarily follow the pattern. I asked everybody to read Chapter 3 on assessment. I really enjoy conducting substance abuse assessments. That's really how I entered the field. I think I shared with many of you. One of my first primary jobs was pre-sentence investigations for the court in the adult court system, and I would spend anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, sometimes talking to the clients and conducting research, conducting court research, talking to family members and community members and treatment providers, and coming up with a recommendation for the court. And usually the recommendations would end up in one of multiple ways. I would share with the court, the judge, and the district attorney's office, and to the defense attorney, the outcome of my assessment, my investigation, and any recommendations. Sometimes my recommendation would be to leave the client or a defendant in jail until their court date. Other times I would recommend the court releasing the clients to my custody. And if the client was released or the defendant was released, they would have to follow through with the treatment plan I set up for them. And this was a constantly evolving treatment plan based on what they needed. Sometimes the treatment plan would include drug testing frequently, weekly visits, sometimes daily visits, house arrest monitoring, and drug treatment, mental health treatment, seeing a psychiatrist or doctor, and other court sanctions. And many times I would supervise these clients for 5 days or sometimes 18 months based on how their court case was proceeding and the seriousness of their court case. And if the client or defendant failed to follow through with the plan, we had the authority to place the defendant back in jail immediately. And that happened many times over. But I shared that story with you to emphasize that a really good assessment process is ongoing. It happens every single day. For example, if I only relied on the assessment and the treatment planning recommendations that I came up with the first time I met the client or went to court to report on the client's standing, if I followed those same plans and assumed that the client's life circumstance or the defendant's life circumstance was the same on that day as it was 9 months later, that would not be accurate. So a really good assessment process is continual. It happens every single day. And a really good clinician or human services professional, medical professional, or whoever you may be, you're constantly assessing the client's circumstance and their behavior and their readiness to change. We never assume that how the client presented themselves 6 months ago is how they presented themselves today. Of course, the assessment process is different for every agency, every setting, really different for every client, and we must be conscious of those differences and acknowledge and respect those differences, because again, one size doesn't fit all. The assessment process, if we look at the assessment process through a stages of change model, the assessment process is very dependent on the client readiness and their readiness to have the conversation. So what we're trying to do in this class is integrate some of the major skills and major concepts of providing treatment and how assessment, providing treatment, so forth, and how that action and how that job duty and obligation may look a little bit different based on the client's stage of change and based on their readiness. So please make sure that you have read Chapter 3. In the meantime, sometime after, probably next week, I will start going through the quizzes, those quiz grades, and releasing those quizzes and making sure that we may not have any problems. If you have quiz questions for Chapter 3, or just quiz questions from the January 23rd quiz that is due 2 days from now, February the 6th, jot those quizzes down, let me know, and we will still have the opportunity to have a conversation about those quizzes when we meet together again, in case we have some disagreements about the client's respective level of, or stage of change. Moving on, you will see inside of this folder and under this video a agenda link for February the 6th. If you click on the link, you will see many items. You're being asked to read Chapter 4 on treatment planning. So we will talk about treatment planning next time we meet and try to tie up any loose ends with the assessment process. I've asked you to view 2 videos. One of those videos is long, another one is quite short. Those are inside of this video, this folder as well. There's 2 links for website readings to take a look at, to read those links online. And we have the second quiz number 2. Quiz number 2 is different from quiz number 1. Quiz number 2 is not timed. It is all short answer. There are 7 questions worth a total of 50 points each, and all 7 questions are short answer. There's no true false, no multiple choice. And the quiz can be accessed multiple times. So I suggest that everyone go into the quiz, print out the quiz so you can have a hard copy, and work on your ideas and answers before you go into Blackboard and start submitting your quiz. This quiz you will need to think about, and the quiz is about addressing the client's respective stage of change and how a treatment plan might look for that stage of change. So a question on the quiz is, if a client is experiencing a contemplation stage of change, what would a treatment plan look like, or what might a treatment plan include? We also have our first short response paper, that should be no more than 2 to 3 pages long. That is also due by the next time we meet. Everything I'm talking about right now is due by the next time that we meet. It's a 2 to 3 page paper that has related to the topic of, suppose a client walks in and has a established list of life goals, dreams, things they want to get accomplished. And suppose you as a professional see those life goals and dreams and things they want to accomplish as possibly not being very good for them and their long-term sobriety or quality of life, or maybe you don't think they're very realistic. What do you do? So on one hand, you have a client that's saying that they want to do X, Y, and Z, and on the other hand, you or your agency is saying, that's not a good idea. What do we do? How do we meet in the middle? How can you find ways to meet the client in the middle? based on their respective level of change or stages of change. I've also included some information about what a response paper is and the grading rubric I will be using. The response paper you may turn into me the next time we meet or submit to me via email. It's totally up to you. Make sure that you indicate inside of your email the class that you're sending this in for, and send me the file attachment. Do not submit to me a paper that's been pasted into a text box if you can avoid it. And always include your name on your paper. If you don't include your name on your paper, I don't know who the paper belongs to, because I print all these papers out at one time in a bulk fashion. When the papers go to the printer, they just come out of the printer with, if your name's not on the paper, there's no identifying marks. Thanks so much. I hope everybody has a good couple of weeks, and I will see you soon. Let me know if you have questions. Bye.